She hurt you, and now your mind won't shut up. You can't sleep, can't focus, can't stop replaying every message, every moment, wondering what changed, what you missed, what you could have done better. You think closure will fix it. You think texting her, getting answers, seeing her one more time will make the pain stop. But it won't. Because what hurts the most isn't that she left. It's that deep down you know you gave her everything while she gave you excuses. You handed her your loyalty, your vulnerability, your heart, and she walked away like none of it mattered. And the truth is, you let her believe she could. That's what we fix today. This video is not for comfort, it's for clarity. For men who are done being emotional punching bags. For men ready to stop reacting and start rebuilding. This is about learning the one thing you never do when a woman hurts you, because it's the difference between staying stuck and taking back your power. We're diving deep, no games, just pure, unfiltered truth rooted in the same principles that built empires. Stoicism isn't suppression, it's power through control. It's the mindset that frees you from chaos, from chasing people who test your worth, from reacting to betrayal with desperation. If you're tired of losing yourself in every relationship, if you're ready to stop bleeding for people who wouldn't even bandage your wounds, stay locked in. The life you want begins the moment you stop reacting to hers. Number 1. Don't react emotionally. She changed overnight. One day she was affectionate, present, laughing at your jokes, texting back in seconds. The next, cold, distant, unreachable. And that shift, it doesn't just confuse you, it shatters your understanding of what you thought was real. So your emotions swell, your heart races, your fingers itch to send that text. You rehearse what you're going to say. Maybe you cry in the shower, maybe you punch the wall. Maybe you sit there in silence, hoping she calls. But in every one of those reactions, you're giving her one thing: control. You believe if you express the depth of your pain, if you cry hard enough, message long enough, if you open your heart wide enough, she'll see it and come back. But that's not how this works. Women don't respond to emotional collapse the way you wish they did. When she sees you broken, she doesn't feel remorse. She feels reinforced. Because your emotional reaction confirms her power. And once she knows she can push your buttons, once she knows she can shake your foundation, she knows you're still hers. Maybe not in bed, maybe not in relationship status, but in mind, in emotion, in spirit, you haven't left. Your reaction is her victory. And so she doesn't have to wonder. She doesn't have to miss you. She knows you're still in orbit. That's why silence is misunderstood. It's not about indifference, it's about mastery. When you react, you're proving that you're led by impulse, not principle. And a man without principle is a man easily replaced. This is the harsh lesson most never learn. Heartbreak doesn't break you. How you respond to heartbreak is what defines you. And she's counting on your breakdown. She's seen it before. Guys begging, pleading, promising change, over-explaining, panicking when they feel her slipping. And when you do what she expects, you confirm you're just another guy. But you're not. Not anymore. Not after this. The pain you feel right now, use it. Channel it. The same way warriors train in winter to conquer in war, you train in heartbreak to dominate in life. And it starts by sitting in that pain, feeling it, but refusing to let it speak on your behalf. You journal, you hit the gym like your life depends on it, because it does. You build a routine so tight, so powerful, that there's no room left in your day for impulsive texts or emotional spirals. You master your breathing. You wake up earlier. You disconnect from any platform that reminds you of her. You fill your space with people and pursuits that feed your soul. Because healing isn't an accident, it's a decision. A violent, determined decision to rebuild without asking for her input. She had her chance. She chose distance. Let her live with it. You don't make her regret leaving by crying. You make her regret by evolving, by becoming the man who isn't reachable anymore, not because you're angry, but because you're above it. You rise from heartbreak, not by denying emotion, but by refusing to be ruled by it. That's what Stoics knew, that's what high-value men embody, and that's what you now become. The pain doesn't define you, your response does. Choose your power. Number 2. Don't try to explain your worth. It's almost instinctive. When someone walks away, treats you like you're disposable, or suddenly stops valuing you the way they once did, your first impulse is to explain yourself, to remind them of everything you brought to the table, the time, the effort, the loyalty, the sacrifices you made without asking for anything in return. You want them to remember, to reconsider, to realize what they're losing. So you explain. You send long texts. You break down your love into bullet points. You make a case like a lawyer defending a client. But what you don't realize is that every word you speak in that space is a confession of insecurity, not because you're weak, but because you still believe she holds the authority to define your value. You still believe your worth can be increased by her acknowledgement, and that belief is the poison. Because the truth is, if you have to explain your worth, you've already lost. You've lost the power of self-definition. You've given her the power of judgment, and judgment is never fair in the hands of someone who already devalued you. Understand this. People don't forget value. They ignore it when they no longer need it. She knows what you brought. She remembers how you showed up. She knows your patterns, your heart, your habits. She's not confused. She's comfortable. Comfortable enough to walk away without fearing consequence. Comfortable enough to treat your kindness like convenience. Comfortable enough to know that no matter how far she pulls away, you'll be right there, explaining, convincing, waiting. But that ends today. Because real worth is never explained. It's lived. It's embodied. It's shown in the silence that follows disrespect. It's revealed in the boundaries that aren't negotiated. It's proven in the results that speak louder than any message you could send. The most powerful thing you can do after being overlooked is to outgrow the version of you she walked away from. Not to spite her, but to honor yourself. You don't need to tell her what she lost. You become the man who makes her absence irrelevant. You let your life speak. Your body improves. Your finances evolve. Your peace deepens. Your presence becomes rare, focused, unavailable to anything that doesn't meet your standard. And as your value rises, not through words, but through relentless self-mastery, she sees it. Not through conversations, but through transformation. And by then, the version of her that could reach you no longer exists. She would need to become someone else just to stand in the room you now occupy. But the beauty is, you no longer care. Because the man who used to need her validation has become a man who validates himself through execution, not emotion, through growth, not grasping, through evolution, not explanation. So next time you feel the urge to remind her of who you are, remind yourself instead. Write your mission, commit to it. Let your focus become louder than your feelings. Let your actions speak a language she no longer understands. And when that happens, you'll realize that your worth was never something you had to convince her of. It was something you had to remember for yourself. And now that you have, the game is over. You no longer chase clarity from the one who caused the confusion. You become the clarity. You stop explaining, and you start becoming. That's how you win. And if you're ready to keep winning, not just in this moment, but for the rest of your life, then the Stoic relationship blueprint is the next step you cannot afford to miss. It's not just another ebook. It's a weapon for clarity, a guide to emotional mastery, and a blueprint to rebuild yourself with power, direction, and peace. Inside are the answers you've been searching for, how to stop repeating painful patterns, how to see people as they are, not as you hope they'll become, and how to build a life where your worth is never on trial again. You won't need to explain yourself anymore. You'll live so purposefully, so decisively that no one questions your presence. This blueprint is yours forever. Once you own it, you'll never be unprepared again. No matter who comes or goes, this knowledge stays with you, quietly reshaping every relationship you enter from this day forward. The link is in the comments. Don't wait. Change everything. Number 3. Don't let her guilt you. She knows exactly which words to say to reach your softest spot. The moment she feels you're slipping from her grip, not because she loves you, but because you've stopped orbiting her world, she switches tactics. From ice cold to tears, from stone silence to, I just didn't know how to handle things. Suddenly the same woman who withdrew, who disrespected your energy, who treated your presence like a given, starts dropping lines designed to evoke sympathy. I didn't mean to hurt you. I was going through so much. You don't understand what I was dealing with. But you do understand. You understand now that this is a strategy. This isn't remorse. This is guilt manipulation. It's the last act in a play where she gets to stay powerful while convincing you that her betrayal wasn't betrayal. It was a misunderstanding, an emotional lapse, a tragic accident she didn't cause, but had to live with too. And if you fall for it, if you let the guilt win, you're not just accepting her pain, you're denying your own. This is how men end up in cycles where they're the emotional caretaker for the very person who shattered them. She flips the narrative. You become the villain in her version of the story simply because you chose distance over dysfunction. This is where the power flips again, where your clarity becomes blurred by the possibility that maybe, just maybe, she didn't mean it. But guilt is not the same as accountability. Tears are not apologies. Regret is not reform. And love is not built on your ability to carry her emotional damage on your shoulders while swallowing your own. She didn't call when you were waiting. She watched your texts go unanswered. She made you question your worth, your time, your dignity. She measured your value based on how much you'd tolerate. And when you finally stopped tolerating it, when you started choosing yourself, then came the guilt. You are not her therapist. You are not her emotional punching bag turned shoulder to cry on. You're not her redemption story. You're the man who's allowed to choose peace without needing to justify it. And the most dangerous woman isn't the one who cheats or lies or ghosts. It's the one who makes you feel guilty for leaving after she's broken you. That woman doesn't want love. She wants control masked as connection. And guilt is her last weapon. She doesn't need to say, I still want you. All she has to say is, you abandoned me when I was low, and now you're confused. Now you're questioning your boundaries. Now you're back, trying to be there for her. You know what that means? You've stepped back into the prison she left open just enough for your conscience to walk through. You must recognize the trap. And instead of justifying your exit, you hold firm. You remind yourself that your peace isn't up for negotiation, and no woman gets to outsource her healing onto you. When you feel the pull of guilt creeping in, you don't text back to clarify. You don't call to check in. You write it down, you process it, and you let the guilt pass through you like a wave. Because it is. It rises strong, but it fades just as quickly if you don't give it a stage. You protect your boundaries with silence, not explanations. And when you master that, when you deny guilt the ability to pull you backwards, you earn something most men never reach, the right to feel proud of walking away. You didn't just survive manipulation, you identified it, named it, and refused to carry it. That is what turns heartbreak into transformation. That is how you win. Number 4, don't chase closure. You think closure is the key, that if she just explained why, if she just gave you one last honest conversation, you could finally exhale and move on. So you wait. You text. You reach out saying, I just want to talk, not to get back together, just for clarity. But that's not the truth. And deep down, you know it. You don't want closure. You want connection. You want to believe that she'll say something to make the pain make sense. But here's the hard truth. She won't. She doesn't. And even if she does, it won't satisfy the ache. Because the ache isn't born of confusion, it's born of rejection. The truth you're avoiding is that closure isn't given. It's earned, alone. She left, she lied, she faded, and she did it without offering you respect, because in her mind, you didn't require it. When you ask her to give you closure, what you're really doing is placing the keys to your healing in her hands. You're hoping that the person who broke you will be the one to stitch you back together. That's not closure. That's denial in disguise. And if she hurt you and walked away without explanation, that is the explanation. If she can post smiling selfies 2 days after vanishing from your life, that's closure. Her indifference, her silence, her absence, they are the message. When you chase closure, you extend the damage. You take a temporary heartbreak and turn it into a long-term obsession. And the worst part, she knows it. She sees your name in her DMs, your long texts trying to unpack the past, your desperate voice notes asking what went wrong. And she knows, without a doubt, that you're still stuck, that she still has power. And if she decides to give you an answer, it won't be honest. It'll be strategic. She'll tell you what soothes her guilt, not what serves your truth. She'll say, it just wasn't the right time. You were amazing, it's me. I need to figure myself out. Generic words, empty signals, none of them help. They just recycle the same hope that kept you stuck from the start. So stop asking, stop texting, stop chasing words that won't change what happened. Start creating your own closure. Write a letter you never send. Burn it. Delete the photos, remove the messages, journal what you learned about her, but more importantly, about you. Write down your standards, your boundaries, your non-negotiables. Turn your pain into policy, and from this moment forward, decide that closure isn't something you seek. It's something you build. You don't need her voice to validate your value. You don't need her story to make peace with your own. Your peace is your responsibility. And once you own that, once you fully accept that closure is the reward for letting go, not the result of her final words, you'll realize she doesn't owe you anything, not even closure, because what you needed from her, she already proved she couldn't give. And now, it's your turn to give yourself the one thing she couldn't: freedom. Freedom from her, from needing her, from chasing answers you already know. That's real closure. That's how you walk. And when you do, you don't look back. Number 5. Don't stalk her socials. It starts innocent, or so you tell yourself. You open Instagram just for a second, just to see what she's posted. Maybe a new picture, maybe something subtle. Just a story, just a glance. But that glance turns into a loop. One post becomes 5. A video becomes an hour scrolling. You analyze captions, who liked it, who commented, what she's wearing, where she is, who she's with. You're trying to decode her life after you, hoping to find signs that she misses you, regrets losing you, is thinking about you. But this habit, this surveillance you disguise as curiosity, isn't just costing you time. It's costing you healing. It's keeping your mind chained to a story that already ended. You want proof she still feels something for you. You want to believe her smile is fake, her trips are hollow, that guy she's with is a rebound. But here's what you're really doing. You're handing her your focus without her lifting a finger. She doesn't have to text you. She doesn't even have to speak your name. And yet, she occupies your thoughts like rent you never agreed to pay. Every time you view her story, even if she doesn't know it, you do. You reinforce her power. You allow your peace to be disrupted by illusions, because that's what social media is. Illusion. Carefully curated illusions designed to trigger emotions, most often in the people watching, not the people posting. Have you ever seen her post a quote about growth or heartbreak and thought, that's about me? Have you replayed a 15-second story just to see the background or hear the song and wonder what message she's sending? That's not you observing. That's you obsessed. And obsession disguised as closure is still obsession. The moment you open her profile, you say, I haven't let go. I still care. I still need her life to make sense for mine to move on. But you don't. You never did. You convince yourself it's harmless, but look at what it costs. Your energy, your attention, your momentum. You start your day with her image in your head. You go to sleep replaying her life. Meanwhile, she's not thinking about you. She's living. She might even know you're watching. She might even be posting for you. That's what's worse. When she knows you'll see it, and crafts it just enough to stir confusion, nostalgia, jealousy, anger, and every time you click, you feed that. You give her the reaction without the message. She posts, you consume, she disappears, you wait. This cycle ends when you end it, not when she stops posting, not when she finally reaches out, not when she posts a picture crying. It ends when you stop giving her the attention she no longer deserves. That means unfollowing, muting, deleting, removing access from your end, not for drama, but for discipline. Because your mind cannot heal when it's constantly exposed to the wound. You wouldn't keep touching a broken bone expecting it to set itself. So stop checking her feed and expecting closure. Stop expecting her story to tell you anything worth knowing. Her best content is still fiction. Her captions aren't confessions. Her photos aren't reality. And even if they are, what does it matter? You're not building your life based on someone else's illusion. You're building from truth. The truth is, her profile is a trigger. Her updates are poison. And every time you click, you reinforce the belief that you're not ready to let go. But you are. You've come this far. You've learned the pain. Now learn the practice. Protect your mind like it's sacred, because it is. Replace the time you spend checking her with building yourself. Every 5 minutes spent watching her is 5 minutes lost, sharpening your craft, improving your body, investing in your mission. Make your progress louder than your stalking. And eventually, you won't care what she posts, because you'll be too focused on becoming someone she doesn't even recognize anymore. Number 6. Don't try to be friends. You tell yourself you're strong enough now, that you can handle it, that being friends is mature, evolved, a sign of emotional intelligence. But deep down, you know it's not about maturity. It's about proximity. It's about hoping that if you stay close enough, maybe she'll miss you, maybe she'll remember what you had, maybe she'll see the version of you she once loved and change her mind. But let me ask you, how can you ever heal in the same environment that broke you? How can you rediscover yourself when you're tethered to the very person who made you question who you are? Let's just be friends is rarely a mutual choice. It's usually a consolation prize offered by the one who walked away to the one who still wants more. And when you accept it, you don't regain closeness. You forfeit respect. Because deep down, she knows you're not over her. She knows your agreement isn't genuine. You're not her friend. You're a placeholder. Your emotional insurance. A warm echo of the comfort she used to have, still there when she's lonely. When her new fling isn't enough. When she wants validation without commitment. You become the safety net, there to catch her when her other plans fall apart. And worse, you're okay with it. You convince yourself that being close is better than nothing, that crumbs of attention are better than silence, but they're not. They're worse, because they keep you in a state of permanent hope. Every message, every smile, every memory she throws your way is a trap. It reopens wounds you worked so hard to close, and every time she calls you friend, you pretend it doesn't sting like hell. She doesn't want your friendship. She wants your energy without your expectations, your presence without your power. And if you let her have it, you'll never move on. You'll be the guy she calls when she's sad, but not the one she chooses when she's ready to love again. And when that day comes, when she falls for someone else while you're still just a friend, you'll be devastated. Not because she moved on, but because you never did. Because you stayed in a space where you weren't wanted the way you deserved to be. Friendship after betrayal is not healing, it's self-betrayal. It's telling your soul that your peace is worth less than her approval, that your boundaries are negotiable, that you're okay with less, because you're afraid to lose it all. But here's what you need to understand. Letting go completely is the only way to reclaim your power. You don't owe her friendship. You don't owe her kindness. You owe yourself clarity, closure, freedom. You owe yourself a future where your heart isn't split between love and longing. Walk away, not out of anger, not to hurt her, but because staying hurts you. Because staying small, staying accessible, staying available for someone who let you go is not strength. It's sacrifice. And you've sacrificed enough. You've given enough. Now it's your turn to choose you. Delete the chat. Mute the notifications. Stop replying out of guilt. Let her remember you as the one who walked away when it was clear she didn't value what you offered. That memory will last longer than any friendship you pretend to enjoy. That silence will echo louder than any words you could speak. And one day, when she wonders where you went, she'll realize you left to find the one thing she couldn't give you, peace. And by then, you won't need her to understand. You'll already be gone. Number 7. Don't be available. You might not admit it out loud, but you hope she'll reach out. You keep your phone on, volume up, screen bright. You leave the chat open like maybe the energy of your waiting will summon her name. And when she texts, if she texts, you reply in seconds. You drop what you're doing. You pause the game, cancel the gym, ghost your boys just to respond. And right there, in that microsecond of reaction, you broadcast your availability. You send the message, not in words but in action, that she's still the center of your gravity. And you think this makes you loyal. You think it proves your worth. You think being there if she needs you is noble. But all it does is remind her she never has to earn your time. She never has to fear losing you. She knows you'll come running. And people only respect what they fear losing. Read that again. If she doesn't feel the consequence of walking away, why would she ever walk back with humility? Your availability makes you common, and she doesn't chase what's always within reach. So while you wait, while you show up in every comment, while you sit on standby hoping she sees you as reliable, all she sees is a man who doesn't value his time. And that's not attractive. That's expendable. Stop being the man who's always around. Stop being the plan B when her other plans fall through. Start disappearing, not to punish her, but to build you. Fill your time so full of your mission that you don't even notice her absence. Wake up early. Build the body you neglected. Create content. Stack money. Learn skills that make you irreplaceable in business and unshakable in your mindset. Let her see the silence as distance, not from her, but from who you used to be. That availability you used to offer, turn it inward. Become so obsessed with your own journey that you no longer seek hers. And when, not if, she comes back, testing the waters, asking how you've been, checking if you're still around, your response should be calm, minimal, controlled. Because now you've tasted what it's like to prioritize yourself. You've realized your time is sacred. You've felt the difference between being needed and being respected. And you don't trade self-respect for text message validation anymore. If she wants a place in your life, she earns it. And if she doesn't, you've already moved, not on up. That's what happens when you stop being available. You stop being an option. You become a standard. Number 8. Don't wait for her to change. It's the hope that kills you. Not the breakup, not the betrayal, not even the silence. It's the hope that maybe tomorrow she'll be different. Maybe she'll wake up and realize what she lost. Maybe she'll heal. Maybe she'll outgrow her games, her ego, her indecision. So you wait. You pause your healing. You delay your growth. You shrink your progress, telling yourself it's only temporary, that once she sees the truth, you'll both come back stronger. But here's the brutal, necessary truth. The version of her you're waiting for doesn't exist. She exists in your imagination. She exists in the highlight reels of your memories, not in the reality of who she is when nobody's watching. And every time you hope for her to change, you reject the most important person in the equation, you. Because growth doesn't happen when you wait. It happens when you accept. Accept who she really is. Accept that her actions speak louder than any apology she hasn't given. Accept that the same woman who could ignore your pain, mock your effort, or string you along isn't going to suddenly morph into your dream partner just because you stayed loyal to an illusion. She has no incentive to change if you never demand it. And even if she did change, change isn't enough. You're not here to reward minimal improvements. You're here to build a future with someone who doesn't need to be begged to act right. Waiting turns you into a spectator in your own life. You stop taking risks. You stop investing in others. You become emotionally unavailable to new people while remaining emotionally addicted to someone who's already walked away. And that addiction, it grows. The longer you wait, the more your mind twists the story. You forget the lies. You minimize the red flags. You glorify the small moments of love and ignore the months of chaos. That's not love. That's fantasy. And fantasy is the enemy of healing. So stop waiting. Write it down right now. She's not coming back the way you want her to. And if she does return, she'll expect the same man she left. The man who was patient, who was passive, who was still available after all the hurt. Don't be him. Become unrecognizable. Let the silence be the space where you build. Let the loneliness be the pressure that forms a diamond. Stack your wins in silence. Let your absence become presence in rooms she doesn't have access to anymore. And when the urge to wait returns, ask yourself, what am I delaying? What am I not building right now because I'm still living in the shadow of someone else's potential? Write your goals. Break them into daily actions. Execute. Track. Improve. Every day you act is a day you erase her control. And eventually, the woman you thought you wanted won't even recognize the man you've become because you didn't wait for her to change. You changed for yourself. That's the real flex. Number 9. Don't make excuses for her. You keep replaying it in your head. What she said, how she looked, the tone of her voice, and every time the pain rises, your mind softens it, twists it, reshapes it, until it feels like maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe you misunderstood. Maybe she was hurting, confused, under pressure. Maybe she just didn't know how to communicate properly. You tell yourself she's not normally like that she's had a rough past, or that she didn't mean to. But here's the brutal reality. You're not protecting her, you're avoiding the truth. The moment you start rationalizing betrayal, disrespect, indifference, emotional games, lies, or neglect, you're not healing. You're preserving the wound. You're keeping the pain alive under the mask of compassion. But understand this clearly. A woman doesn't need your sympathy after she's chosen to hurt you. She needs your distance. She doesn't need you to interpret her behavior through the lens of her trauma. She needs you to interpret it through the results it brought into your life. You lost peace, sleep, self-respect, confidence, and you still think excusing her is noble. That's not nobility, that's self-destruction. When you make excuses for her, you rob yourself of clarity. You blur the lines between loyalty and self-sacrifice. You defend someone who wouldn't defend you. You become her attorney in a courtroom where you're also the victim. You pull out evidence of her goodness and wave it like it cancels out the moments she destroyed you. But it doesn't. The truth is, people show you who they are, not just in how they love you, but in how they hurt you. And if she could watch you break, if she could see you shrink and still sleep peacefully, if she could trigger your pain and feel nothing, then her good moments don't redeem her. They reveal she's capable of both kindness and cruelty. And you're only focusing on one because it hurts too much to look at the other. But you must. You have to stop saying things like, she didn't mean to, she's still growing, she needs help. Because while you defend her potential, you betray your reality. While you protect her reputation, you compromise your healing. And every time you speak for her, justify her, excuse her, you give her another piece of your peace. Stop that. Reclaim the narrative. It's okay to admit that someone you loved deeply treated you badly. It's okay to accept that the woman you thought was your forever was only in love with the version of you that made her feel good, not the one that needed her to grow up. You're not a savior, you're not her therapist, and you're not her emotional rehab center. You're a man trying to rebuild after a war she never acknowledged. So stop handing her the power of interpretation. Take her actions at face value. She chose herself over you, and instead of admitting it, she left you to piece together a puzzle that only she had the solution to, but threw it in the trash. Don't spend your life digging through that trash. Accept what you saw. Embrace the clarity. Stop trying to make her a good person in a bad moment. See her as a whole. And once you do, you'll stop waiting for explanations and start building a life where you no longer need to explain anything. You don't need closure when you stop giving excuses. You don't need apologies when you stop softening betrayal. Her actions are enough, and the moment you accept them without flinching, you stop being the man who was hurt and become the man who heals on his terms, without illusions, without fantasies, and without her. Number 10. Don't let her destroy your focus. Focus is the one thing you can't afford to lose. Not in this era, not in this life, not if you want to become a man who builds, leads, and dominates his path. But heartbreak is a thief. It doesn't just take your peace, it takes your vision. And if you're not careful, you wake up weeks later, months later, still paralyzed, still distracted, still living in the echoes of a woman who left. You try to work, but you can't concentrate. You try to train, but your body moves like it's carrying weights not on your back, but in your chest. You read, but nothing sinks in. You scroll for hours, hoping to drown the memory. You replay what she said, what she didn't say, what you should have said, and in that spiral, you miss opportunity after opportunity. Your goals collect dust, your progress halts, your vision blurs, and while you're mentally stuck, emotionally distracted, spiritually exhausted, she moves on, she thrives, she dates, she posts, and the gap between your life and your potential widens, not because of her, but because you let her pain become your prison. And it ends today. Focus is not something you find, it's something you reclaim. You don't wait for it, you build it. You wake up earlier, not because you want to, but because discipline is the only thing that silences the noise. You delete apps, you cut distractions, you write your goals down every morning like a soldier rehearsing battle formations. You eat clean, not for abs, but for control. You read daily, not for quotes to post, but for ammunition to sharpen your mind. You set hourly intentions. You guard your time like it's treasure, because it is. And every time she enters your thoughts, you use it as fuel, not fear. You say, this pain won't own me. This distraction won't define me. You create instead of consume. You execute instead of react. You become ruthless about your progress, not to punish her, but to protect you. Because the most dangerous man is not the one who's angry, it's the one who's focused, the one who stopped giving his energy to ghosts, the one who turned heartbreak into horsepower. And make no mistake, she will notice. Maybe not today, maybe not next month, but eventually she'll hear about you. She'll see the transformation. She'll realize the version of you she tried to break became the man she never imagined. But by then, it'll be too late, because your focus will have taken you so far that even her memory won't matter anymore. That's what happens when you stop letting pain dictate your productivity. That's what happens when you reclaim your time, your goals, your path. You stop living like you're waiting to be chosen and start living like you've already won, not because of her absence, but because of your focus. You build, you sharpen, you execute, and in that, you become untouchable, not just to her, but to every distraction the world throws at you. Because a man with focus is a man with fire, and once that fire burns for himself, nothing, not even her, can extinguish it. You've seen what happens when you beg, when you chase, when you let her define your worth. You lose yourself. But today, you take that self back. This is your moment, not hers. Not a second more wasted trying to fix what was designed to break you. You're done performing for love that's conditional. You're done bleeding for people who feed off your weakness. You rebuild now, with strategy, with discipline, not drama. And the first weapon in your arsenal is the Stoic Relationship Blueprint, the ebook made for men by Truth, built to save you from the same cycles that steal your peace, your purpose, your years. No more guessing, no more pleading, no more being her backup plan while your life falls apart. This is the truth she doesn't want you to have, and that's exactly why you need it. Click the link in the comments, grab your copy, and let this be the turning point. If you're ready, comment, "I reclaim my power," right now. Like this video, subscribe, and share it so more men escape the pain before it rewires their future.